Welcome back. If you're just joining us, I'm Beth Greer, and I'm talking with ChefMD John LaPuma about food as medicine on Your Supernatural Life here on Green 960.
I loved your tip about not using fat-free salad dressing, for example, on your green salad, because the fat actually helps you absorb the good stuff, right?
Right, and that little bit of extra virgin olive oil is good for you. It not only contains lots of anti-inflammatories, but also helps you absorb the carotenoids in your salad. The same is true for any healthy fat. If you add avocado to a spinach salad, you absorb 7 times the lutein in the spinach, the green, eye-protecting antioxidant, protects against cataracts and macular degeneration, than if there was no avocado or no full-fat salad dressing on that salad. And, people often think they're virtuous by going fat-free. In fact, we really need that fat. You don't need a lot of it. You need half a tablespoon, which is about 65 calories, to absorb the lutein in the spinach, which is about a quarter of a small to medium avocado. And that's you get enough of the flavor. You get some of the warm unctuousness, smooth pleasure that an avocado can give, and you get more out of what you're eating.
Okay, I've gotten some questions from listeners. From Lisa from Northern California writes, I'm very interested in the role of insulin in breast cancer and how to eat to keep that in balance. I'd like your opinion on the role of insulin and then if a low-carb diet is best. Do you have an opinion on that?
Your listener is way ahead of me. In fact, high insulin levels have been linked to a greater risk of breast cancer. It's pretty new research. She's right on top of things. Mm-hmm. It's for postmenopausal women, and that's the same research that has previously linked breast cancer to obesity and diabetes, and it's because both obesity and diabetes involve insulin resistance, where the insulin just doesn't work as well. And because insulin promotes the division of cells, and insulin added in the laboratory and in animals to breast cancer cells in a lab, in a petri dish, and in animals does increase the rate of growth of that breast cancer, there's some concern about whether high insulin levels do in fact increase cancer risk in women who are postmenopausal. So the way to stabilize your insulin levels, to reduce your insulin level, and the data that I'm aware of has shown that the link between the elevated insulin level and breast cancer is strongest among lean women and weakest among obese women, is to try to eat low inflammatory and low glycemic index foods, and you can actually change the glycemic index of a food, because no one eats like a cucumber by yourself or a kidney bean by itself. You can change the glycemic index of your foods by combining them.
Right.
If you eat bread with peanut butter or almond butter, you lower the glycemic index of the bread. If you ate the bread by itself, it would increase your sugar level, increase your insulin level, cause a little crash later on when you felt crabby. But if you add a little bit of almond butter to that bread, you lower the glycemic index, you lower the rate insulin is released, and in my view, unless it's really fabulous bread, you get better flavor.
Right.
So the most sound advice especially for postmenopausal women in reducing risk for breast cancer is to be a normal weight, to not drink alcohol, and to engage in aerobic exercise 4 to 5 times weekly. But vitamin D as well has been implicated as a way to correct DNA errors, as I've suggested. And this most recent research saying reduce your insulin level by eating lower glycemic foods is the way to go. My favorite lower glycemic fruit, by the way, is berries. Boysenberries, blackberries, raspberries.
They're fantastic, and they're high in fiber, too. Esther wants to know, what about mental clarity and memory improvement? What foods are good for that?
Boy, I wish I knew. That's so hard. The best data is, and it's preliminary, is really about Alzheimer's disease. And there it's really clear, frankly, that a Mediterranean approach, and there was some recent excellent data just this summer about a Mediterranean approach for Alzheimer's disease, does in fact seem to improve and slow the rate of cognitive decline. And that's especially dark green vegetables that are rich in folate, like asparagus and spinach and kale. Spinach is also rich in zeaxanthin, which has been linked to better mental performance in older people. In fact, people who eat 3 servings a day of leafy vegetables had a 40% decrease in mental decline who had Alzheimer's disease. There's also good news about green tea, and people who drink 2 or more cups of it a day are 54% less likely to have cognitive impairment than people who only drink it 3 times a week. And that's because, and that's what I like about doing this research so much, is that we can tell people why the food works, not just that it works. That's because an antioxidant named epigallocattin gallate, which is EGPG, may reduce plaque buildup in the brain. So there's very good news about the possibility of food acting not just as terrific medicine, but actually helping you look and feel better.
Right. And where does exercise fit into all this? I know some people who eat junk food and they exercise and they look healthy, but maybe not from the inside. What's your opinion about that?
Oh, I think if exercise had a prescription name, it would be called penicillin. It would be exercise, and we were just speaking about insulin sensitivity. I just read a study this morning that showed that you get a 24-hour improvement with as little as 20 minutes of aerobic exercise that day. In a 24-hour improvement in insulin sensitivity, your insulin works better for a day after you exercise.
Wow. Which
is remarkable. For 20 minutes in a vigorous walk, in a swim, in a jog, in a bicycle. I mean, when you take your dog, Oster said you ought to walk your dog every day whether you have one or not.
Right.
And that's paraphrasing, but that's what he meant. And it's just a remarkable, and of course I think resistance training, adding strength, is really the secret to exercise. You want to burn calories when you're not exercising, and the way to do that is to add muscle. And the way to add muscle is with resistance bands and dumbbells and using your own body weight with small, frequent repetitions, not big, heavy lifts. When you do big, heavy lifts of anything, you actually bulk out the muscle cells you already have. When you do small, frequent repetitions, like 3 sets of 8, you begin to add muscle cells, and that's what you want. You want more muscle cells because each muscle cell has insulin receptors. That's where your insulin receptors are. They're in your muscles. So the more muscle cells you can add, the more you're going to be able to improve your own insulin sensitivity and reduce the caloric expenditure, actually improve caloric expenditure as you, even when you're not exercising, because those muscle cells need to be fed, and muscles take more calories to feed than fat.
Right. Well, we only have 1 minute left. Please tell people how they can get hold of your book. It's a wonderful book with fabulous tips and great recipes. It's the big book of culinary medicine. And where can they get hold of it?
Thanks. We're on ChefMD.com. Come to ChefMD.com. We'll send you a free, quick, easy, fun, healthy recipe every week from my Lifetime TV show, What's Cooking with Chef MD. And, of course, the book is available anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your independent bookseller. And we'd love to hear your ideas and have everybody get our free recipes. We don't think eating for health should be expensive. That's why we send out recipes free every week now to tens of thousands of people. We'd love to send them to you.
Great. Thanks so much. This has been so interesting, such an interesting interview. Thanks for your time today.
My pleasure, Beth. Thanks a lot.